Chapter 3564. Lord of Undeath. Bathing in the power of the origin, Lin Moyu's expression naturally relaxed. After adapting, the origin power gave him an indescribable feeling of comfort. Such concentrated origin power was unimaginable outside. It was like being wrapped in countless ninth-grade origin spirit veins, a feeling that could not be described in words. The giant eye stared at Lin Moyu for a moment, then slowly closed. A majestic voice sounded.
"You are qualified to enter."
Lin Moyu felt he regained his freedom. He let out a long sigh of relief internally. It was just a test, and failing the test would have meant death and destruction of his Tao. He passed the test and could continue forward. Fortunately, he had the origin ancestral stone, otherwise it would have been very troublesome. Lin Moyu vaguely understood why those children of Taiyang and Taiyin had died here before. As far as he knew, the vast majority of children of Taiyang or Taiyin were either at the 8th or 9th level of Tao Venerable Realm when entering the origin ancestral land. Very few people like himself entered at the 7th level of Tao Venerable Realm. Those who could become children of Taiyang and Taiyin were extraordinary talents of their generation, with cultivation abilities far surpassing other geniuses of their time. In the origin ancestral land, they would surely quickly comprehend the Great Tao, eventually step onto the Great Tao, and see the unknown realm. They would, like himself, step onto the Great Tao and head towards the unknown realm. Then they would also undergo the test. The test just now was too difficult. Even children of Taiyang and Taiyin would find it hard to pass. Failing meant death, and the few children of Taiyin who survived didn't step onto the Great Tao, which is why they could return alive. For now, this was just Lin Moyu's guess, but it was probably correct 9 times out of 10. Many things had been buried in history. Even entering the river of time might not provide answers about what happened in the origin ancestral land. One could only half guess, half speculate. But none of this mattered. At least Lin Moyu believed in his judgment, and one of his doubts had been resolved. Lin Moyu continued walking along the lines of the Great Tao towards the unknown realm. He felt he was getting closer and closer to some secret of this world. Finally, he reached the end of the Great Tao's power. The void twisted like waves before his eyes. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and slowly reached out his hand, wanting to part the waves and enter. The moment he touched the waves, his entire being froze in place, motionless. His soul flew out of his body and entered the waves. In this unknown realm, the physical body couldn't enter, only the soul could. Passing through the thin layer of waves, Lin Moyu officially stepped in. In his vision appeared a lake. Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment. This lake seemed familiar. He thought of the large gourd full of holes he had seen when stepping into the other shore realm. Ancestral water flowed in the gourd, forming a lake beneath it with endless ancestral water. That lake was very similar to the lake before his eyes. The difference was that above that lake was the ancestral water gourd, while above this lake was a Great Tao, the Power Great Tao. The Power Great Tao formed a projection here, with vast amounts of Great Tao power falling to form the lake. Lin Moyu's soul slowly flew over. Here he could finally fly. He slowly rose into the air and saw lake after lake. Some lakes had Great Taos above them, while others didn't. Counting carefully, there were only about a dozen Great Taos in total, pitifully few compared to the myriad Great Taos.
Time Great Tao, Karma Great Tao, Soul Great Tao.
He recognized several of the Great Taos. At this moment, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw one of the Great Taos. It was the Undeath Great Tao. The Undeath Great Tao he couldn't find outside the unknown realm actually appeared here. At the same time as seeing the Undeath Great Tao, Lin Moyu also noticed some anomalies. The Undeath Great Tao here was not a projection, but the true body, forming a stark contrast with the other Great Taos. In this place, among the dozen or so Great Taos, only 2 or 3 were true bodies here. The rest were just projections. This couldn't help but make one speculate. Why was it like this? What were the differences and distinctions? At this moment, the Undeath Great Tao suddenly hummed. A gray and white light fell on Lin Moyu's soul, pulling him towards the Undeath Great Tao. To Lin Moyu, it felt like meeting a relative wanting to pull the relative home. At the same time, mist churned on several great Taos, and voices slowly emerged.
Welcome back. The Lord of Undeath has returned. How joyous! How joyous indeed! Congratulations to the Lord of Undeath on regaining control of the Great Tao.
One congratulatory voice after another came from the various great Taos. The voices were ethereal, as if coming from infinitely far away, making Lin Moyu feel a bit bewildered. When did he become the Lord of the Undeath Great Tao? From these few sentences, Lin Moyu received some unusual information. These beings were all Tao Lords and true Tao Lords at that, not projection lords. Only the Lords of the true bodies of great Taos had the qualifications to come here. This was Lin Moyu's first judgment, and it was probably correct. As for why he could come here, it could only be described as a pure accident. Then there was the question of why these powerful beings regarded him as the Undeath Tao Lord. This was probably another huge misunderstanding. At this moment, his soul was enveloped by the power of the great Tao, so no one could see his appearance clearly or discern his realm. From their words, it wasn't hard to see that the Undeath Great Tao once had an owner. Moreover, the owner of the Undeath Great Tao was an extremely powerful being. He might have left for some reason or perhaps perished. But for such a being to die was probably extremely difficult. Even if he died, he might be able to return. So these people weren't surprised by his return, just offering simple congratulations. These true great Tao Lords who knew which world they came from. 9 times out of 10, they didn't come from the outer sky great Taos of the origin continent, but from other worlds. Their existence was already higher than that of a single world. He began to understand what this world really looked like. This unknown realm was indeed the greatest secret of heaven and earth. This place was the true origin ancestral land. He was pulled onto the Undeath Great Tao, his soul feeling the familiar power, inexplicably filled with a sense of intimacy. The power of the Undeath Great Tao continuously poured into his soul, and Lin Moyu's comprehension of the Undeath Great Tao also increased. This passive form of improvement was very strange. All kinds of profound principles related to the Great Tao were forcibly stuffed in. He didn't need to understand them at all to gain them. Lin Moyu even had the leisure to observe his surroundings. The world of the Undeath Great Tao was clearly divided into gray and white, with no other colors besides these. The world of the Great Tao was very monotonous, with nothing else in it.
No wonder the Undeath Great Tao couldn't be found in the outside world. It turns out the myriad world projections of the Undeath Great Tao have disappeared, with only the true body remaining here. Then why can I comprehend the Undeath Great Tao? Could it be that I really am some Lord of Undeath? The Lord of Undeath should be a true Great Tao Lord, stronger than projection Tao Lords. But how does it compare to the Lord of Hell in strength?
As questions were resolved, new questions inevitably arose. Lin Moyu pondered these thoughts.